Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is you're watching us today. A massive thanks for again the feedback has been really good from episode 3, and here we are again in episode 4. I have with us once again Mr. Sharafat Shah and Mr. Yas and Phil, and we are Chaiibucks Chat. We are a British white man, a British Pakistani, and a British Indian. We have gone into a chai shop, and we are going to talk about some things that are relevant to the week and beyond. Really, we just have we'd like to have a natter, don't we, and find out things about each other. So yeah, if you're listening on either Spotify or YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then you will be notified for the next one that we do, because we are going to carry on. That's the main thing. We're carrying on. So something you told me on our little group chat before, because I did say I wanted to raise a cup today, but I wasn't allowed to say a certain word. So I'll raise a cup. I'll do the motion. Thank you. And I need one of you to tell me why I'm not allowed to say the word cheers, please.
Go on, Yas.
It's not that you're not allowed. It's not. There's no such kind of specific kind of guidance to say, right, you cannot say cheers because it's not allowed, right? But because traditionally, well, let me just stop. Me and Shaz, even though Shaz is British Pakistani heritage, I'm British Indian, African, Mozambique, Portuguese, and all the rest of it, whatever you want to call it. But we're both British Muslims, and that's our identity. And as a Muslim, you cannot consume alcohol. Now, cheers is traditionally obviously done when consuming alcohol. So by kind of emulating what you're doing, you're kind of saying it's okay to do that as a tradition and do it with any other drink, but it's always been done, correct me if I'm wrong, always been done when you're getting your first drink, alcoholic drink, as opposed to any other drink. So we're told, you know, there's no such kind of right law or anything like that to say don't do it, but we've just been told try and avoid it if you can. There's things that let's just say are permissible, impermissible. This is one of those where you try and avoid it, just because of the fact that you're not drinking alcohol and you don't want to then say, for example, we're in the Chaiibucks. If we were in a pub and you were having a drink and I had a glass of water and I went cheers, I'm kind of saying, yeah, it's all right, mate, you have your drink. It's just, that's as best as I could say. So it's more a case of I'd rather not say it. I'd rather just raise my glass, have a drink.
Well, I would differ slightly from that. Personally, I don't have any issues with saying cheers. It's only a word. And that word is not making, you know, because you're saying that word, you're not pouring alcohol down your throat or anything like that. It's just a word. And if it's what's said and done within a community or between friends, I think it's pretty harmless, really. So I would say I would be okay with saying cheers.
And I just come back on that though. The thing for me always is, growing up, it's always been, you've got to be proud of who you are. You've got to be proud of your own identity. And then there's an element where Shaz is right, where you've got to be respectful of each other. And something might be important to someone else. But for me personally, it's a more, I'd rather not. And I'd rather not, you know, and I'll give you an example of that. Phil, me and you were together Sunday for more literally the whole day, weren't we? At a food festival. And there was a moment where you gave me a bottle of water and I hadn't had a drink for a long, long time. And you gave me that bottle of water, and that honestly, just for you, you know, you to get that for me, because I've been working all day, and give that to me. But then as I drank that bottle of water, kind of sat down and had it. I got on me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. I remember this. Yeah.
And you went, what are you doing, mate? Like, as if like, you know, really strange, like, what the hell's going on? Why are you doing that?
But that's different though, Yas, isn't it?
No, I know. But what I'm just saying is, it's important because if I was to kind of say, I'm with Phil and this is, you know, I'm drinking a glass of water and you know, normally, but I was just showing, well, I would never, ever personally try to ever drink standing up, because
Standing
we're
up, yeah.
taught from a religious perspective that when you're eating and drinking, sit down and eat and drink. And it's sunnah, which is something that the Prophet Muhammad used to do, is when you have a glass of drink, you sit down and have it. So by standing up, it's a bit, I would see it as a bit disrespectful. And this is the point where you've got to respect each other's differences. We're all different, but we're all the same as well.
Correct.
And I hope, you know, and I know you won't, but I hope some people might get offended when I say, I can't say cheers. And it's just like, okay. And then what Shaz is saying, which I take on board, mate, honestly, but sometimes we do things where we think, well, I don't want to offend them by not saying that. And it just depends where you're coming from. I get where Shaz is coming from, totally.
But also, and this could be a whole new different podcast all by itself as well, knowing what we're like. I'm just gonna go back. The sitting down thing. If you ever watch the Pakistani cricket team, Phil, whenever they have a drinks break, nearly all of them sit down to drink on the pitch. They either crouch down or they kneel down or they sit on the floor and drink. And it's ingrained in those cultures there as well.
But it's a religious practice.
Correct.
As well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's ingrained in them, you see. Whereas here, you know, when at the Players Awards evening the other day, we were stood there, you stand around, have a glass of Coke and what have you. You can't sit down in a place like that. You can't do that, right? So there are places where it's accepted, and there's places where you think, oh, what are you doing? Like you said, what are you doing, right? But yes is right. That is the sunnah, and that's what you are supposed to do.
They looked at me like I'd done something alien, and they were like, what are you doing, mate?
Right. That's purely because I passed him the water. So Sunday we'll go on to we are going on to Sunday. I didn't tell you this before, but we are going to go on Sunday just briefly. And I passed him the water, and literally I was running around after him for a lot of the day, just carrying his stuff and then passing him something when he needed it. Just basically trying to be helpful. So I passed him this water, and we were stood on a stage, and it had there's about 2 or 3 stairs going up to this stage. And I passed him the water. I passed you the water, didn't I? And then you passed it me back and said, "Can you open it for me?" Because you had like quite a bit in your hands as well. So I've like popped the top of this water and passed it him back. And he's not sat down. He's like taken a knee on this stage. And it was it was like halfway up a set of stairs. He's taken a knee, gone like that, and then got up again. And I've gone, what are you doing? Because it wasn't a sit down.
He's trying to propose to you with a bottle of water.
Like, I'm getting down on one knee just to swill this water. Now, I appreciate the bit where you have to sit down, because my mum was mad about table manners growing up, literally mental. So anything with food and drink, you were sat at the table. You were sat nowhere else. You were sat at the table, literally. That's it. Now, I think that life obviously gets busier, doesn't it, as modern technologies come in and change. And now, during a working day, I think sometimes you're lucky, aren't you, if you manage to grab a bite to eat and you're on the move while you're doing it. Yeah. But I believe back, years and years ago, my mum always used to say, it's bad for you. If you eat standing up, it's bad for you. You should be sat down. You should eat and drink sat down. And it was always at the table. So no, I have a bit of appreciation for that. Yeah. But when it looked like you were proposing to me, I thought, way up here. I'm only giving him a bottle of water.
I even said, I'll explain to you later. But then just on the other side, which is what you just said, we had a burger next to a bin standing up. We had no other choice. There was nowhere to sit.
Yeah.
So it's something where you want to do it, you like to do it, like you said, and it's great to hear, because I didn't know that at all. It's good to see that, you know what, it's more about respect, anything else. So yeah, anyway, back on the
thing. You're gonna have to tell us what was happening Sunday. I came for the majority of the day. You were there probably about 4 hours earlier than I was, and probably 4 hours after I left, I'm going to guess, looking at the state of things when I left. But it was a Halal Food Festival held at Blackburn Rovers, organised by yourself and the club. Tell us about it, because it was brilliant.
Very, very quickly. I don't know whether the viewers know this and listeners know this, but I'm employed to try and help the club and improve our engagement with the South Asian community. And in Blackburn, that South Asian community is predominantly Muslim. So if you're South Asian, you could be any religion, no faith whatsoever. But in Blackburn, according to the last census, that community is a 35% Muslim community. So my job is to try and bring them to Chaiibuck Park, whether that's for a match day or not. So the idea came in January where we thought there's different ways you can do it. Obviously, on match day is the best, but you have to try and find what works for you. So Ramadan, obviously, we fasted all together for 29 days. And what better thing to have after Ramadan than a food festival? I know we had our own on Eid Day, me and you, and I know Shaz had one at Nawab's as well. But this was kind of the best way for people to come out, enjoy some good food. Thousands came. It was mental. It was unbelievable. It was not anything we'd predicted in terms of the turnout and everything else. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I don't know what you thought of it, mate.
Yeah, just like I said, then for me, I was there. Yeah, I think I got there about 10:30ish, and left at, I couldn't even tell you what time it was, 6 maybe, 6:30, 7 o'clock. In fact, I rang you, Shaz, didn't I, on the way home? And what a day!
6:30, yeah.
Genuinely, what a brilliant day. Some of the food on offer was superb. And again, for me, it's that multicultural aspect. Food is one of those things I think we've noticed, haven't we, that brings people together immediately. If you can manage to break bread with somebody, and it's fairly easy to do, I think, isn't it really? If you manage to get someone down for a good meal, you're onto a winner. Or a chai, you're onto an absolute winner. And yeah, for me, what an event. And I know after the dust is settled and you manage to regain some hours sleep again, yes, that I think it should be a yearly event. But I'll just throw my 2 penneth in there and walk away.
Let me just finish on that and just say, honestly, Shaz, this guy here, he did exactly that. The whole event was just, what do you need? What can I do? From guarding a sink to making sure no one leaves it running. Honestly, to helping a Qawwali band, making sure that, they were performing live on stage properly. I don't know what he didn't do, basically. Buying me food, literally going to buy me food, bringing me cups of chai. The first thing I had that morning since 5 a.m. was when Phil bought me a cup of chai at like 11 a.m. So honestly, what a guy. I've said this in our close group, but I've got so much love from my brother from another mother, honestly.
That doesn't surprise me. It's just the sort of person he is. And you know what? Yes, and unfortunately, as you know, I couldn't make it. Yeah. But pictures that I've seen, the tweets that I've seen, the TikTok videos that I've seen, I believe you were turning people away. There were so many people coming in, But the thing is, guys and viewers, all that was down to this guy here, right? He's worked night and day to make this thing happen. I don't think his wife's too happy with him at the moment, but he's really has worked day and night to make this thing happen. And you know what? Well done, Yas. It was an absolute success. Everybody that spoke to said it was a success. So well done, mate. Proud of you.
Right. You sacrifice things, don't you? You make sacrifices in life. And the one thing, it wasn't just me. It was a massive team effort. There was a number of staff members. There was people like Phil. There was my brother Ahmed. There were so many people who did so much that day. But do you know why they did it? So others can have a good time. And that for me was unbelievable, because there were so many staff members literally working from 5 a.m. till whatever time to do that. Unfortunately, there was a lot of people who went home unhappy as well. We're going to try and resolve that. We're going to try and find a way through that. But anyway, that's not what today's about. Tell us what today's about, Phil. What we're discussing today.
Today, and obviously Saturday was the coronation of the king. The Queen has obviously been the Queen for many years, and I don't think even Shaz won't have seen anybody before Queen Elizabeth II. But we are now on King Charles III, and basically my question for everybody today is the pomp and circumstance of the coronation necessary nowadays, or is it part of what makes Britain Britain?
Well,
discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm actually sitting on the wall with this one, but I personally think it is part of the British makeup. I do think it's what gives Britain the identity as well. Things have changed over the years. Monarchs have changed over the years. The way they're doing things changed over the years. The political parties have got more control now than the monarchy and what have you. Having said that, a lot of taxpayers' money gets spent on the royal family as well. And I was reading somewhere that Charles actually wanted this to be a very small and much smaller and shorter affair than when his mother got crowned. Is that the word, crowned? Do you know mother's coronation?
When they put the Kohinoor, the jewel they stole from India.
Well, let's not go down there. That's a whole new podcast again, right? Going back to Charles, I mean, he wanted it to be similar, but you got to remember that the Queen's coronation costed about £1.4 million in them days. That's equivalent to about £40 million now. But this coronation, right? I've got it written down somewhere here. Oh, there we go. This coronation cost over £150 million.
Wow.
Now, normally, the royal family pay for stuff like that, but this one was actually paid for by the taxpayer. I don't have any problems with it. It's an awful lot of money. I don't have any problems with it because I think the royal family does. I'm one of these people that do believe that the royal family do bring in a lot of money. A lot of tourists come to see the palaces, and they come to London, and one of the main things that they do is visit Buckingham Palace and all the other palaces that are around. They all go to Windsor as well, and I too have been on the Windsor tour and whatever, and it's part of the British makeup. It's part of the history, and that's what gives us the identity. Having said that, I was watching it on TV the other day, and I was thinking, all them robes, the thing that Prince Charles had in his hand, and then this round. Look, forgive me, viewers, if I don't know the objects that he was holding, but the round thing he had in his hand as well. I was thinking, it's all well and good, but it's so unnecessary, all this, though, isn't it? Right? It could have been done quicker. It could have been done without all the ceremonies. But again, that's what it is, right? That's what it's all about. That was broadcasted all over the world. Billions of people saw it, right? And millions of people want to come and see Windsor Castle, Buckingham Palace, and try and see to get a glimpse of the royal family and what have you. And also, having said that, all the local traders in and around London, I reckon more than £150 million was spent and went into the pockets of the local traders there as well, and local shops and what have you as well. So I reckon it was worth it. It's the royal family, and it's a big flag waving thing for the UK as well. So yes, I do think some of it was unnecessary, but I really think that it's worth it, and I think that it actually puts the UK on the map. My view.
I want to hear Phil's version of this.
Well, he was shaking his head there when I was watching him, and he threw me a couple of times as well. So come on, Phil, let's hear it.
Yeah, not for me. I think we're past it now. I think it's gone. I understand people's views on it and understand why people care so passionately about it. I think the history of Britain would be there regardless of the monarchy being there or not. I think the palaces would still be there and kept regardless of the monarchy being there or not. I think, as mentioned about the certain jewels and stones in crowns, I think they're contentious points that I think is brought up, brings up an argument as to some of Britain's history that I don't think is probably taught as well as it should be, because there are various things that we did as a country that wouldn't be acceptable. Even looking now, we wouldn't like other countries doing what we did. And then back then, if somebody was trying to do that to us, we also wouldn't like that. But it was okay for us to do it, or it seems we seem to signal that it was okay because we were doing it for, I don't know what, building this massive British Empire. We can't change that history. It's there. We could do a little bit to make it right, but again, that's a bigger argument for a bigger day. And yeah, I get what you're saying, Shaz. 150 million. I have no doubt that there was an influx of cash all around the UK. People having these coronation parties, etc., etc. I think it was more than 150 million, if I'm honest. I think that's a very, very conservative figure.
I think I might agree with you.
But the thing that I can't ever get around with things like that is the coming together. It's not often we have street parties anymore, and it's not often that neighbours get together like they used to. I think we mentioned it earlier on, about eating and drinking. Everyone's always in a rush these days. Everyone passes each other. You go out, you might see your neighbour in the morning, disappear to work, come back, evening, and then that's it. They're the only dealings that you might have. Again, culturally, there might be something different. I know families, I know a lot of, guys that we know, their families live on cul-de-sacs or in terrace row, so that, it's all family members around. Certainly not like that where I am. I see my neighbours occasionally, say good morning, good afternoon. We might stop for a chinwag once every month, maybe for 5-10 minutes, and that's about it. So it's things like that I can see the benefit of. But again, is that worth it? I don't know. I'd argue not. I could probably throw an argument for and against, really. But over on the whole, I think the money could be better spent. I think the country's. I think at the moment the country needs other things more than it does a coronation. And I get, you can't help the timing, and it's sad that the Queen died and someone's lost a family member and a grandmother and mother, etc. But I think on the whole, the country could probably have spent that money a little more wisely on things that it actually needs at the moment. When you're looking at care for the elderly, when you're looking at potential treatments for certain diseases, when you're looking at the underfunding of the NHS and the education system, 150 million, again, a conservative estimate. Again, not a massive amount of money when you look at the country. I think it could have been utilised better. And I have heard the thing as well where Charles himself has said he wanted a smaller, quicker event. And surely that should have been led by him. If he wanted a smaller, quicker event, surely that should have been the case. And possibly that would have been a lot cheaper. But, again, and I don't want to sit on the fence, really. I can argue for and against both. But yeah, I think on this occasion, I think it's more about pomp and circumstance and what it does for other people watching from other countries, to see some of the army regiments and the navy regiments marching up and down. I think it's a little bit of bravado more than anything else.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I agree with a lot of what you guys have said, but I think it goes back to your own individual story of when you're growing up and what you viewed it as. I grew up, my grandma used to live with us and she used to love the Queen. For her, the Queen was important. And I remember anytime the Queen was on TV, my grandma used to switch the TV on and make sure she watches the Queen. Growing up, there was a love in my family for the monarchy to a degree. From my perspective, personally, I used to love Diana. She was someone that, honestly, I remember in year 7, our teacher asked me, and our teacher asked us as a class, if you could invite one person to dinner, who would it be? And my first answer, I still remember, it was Princess Diana. And when she died, however she died, whatever happened there, for me, I fell out of love with the powers, in the royal family, in terms of what happened and how she was treated and everything else, how she was, because of the choices she made after she split up with Charles, was an outcast to a degree. So I fell out of love with the royal family more or less after Diana died, and I like Will and Harry, and that was how I followed it. The problem I have with it all is when people get offended by your opinion on it. When people start saying, well, you should love your king and you should love your country because they look at both the same. I don't. I'm a proud British person, but that does not mean I have to love this king. And, for me, Camilla was the kind of person that, took over Diana's. So it was like, oh, sorry, Queen Camilla now. And that is where I think you had the Liverpool fans booing, You had people arrested on the streets of London, but then you also at the same time have people all over social media keep saying, why have you not got Britain flags up? Why have you not done this? Where's, why is this street not got celebrating the coronation? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Everyone's entitled to do what they want, what they think is important. Final point I want to make on that was growing up, we didn't have the best leaders politically. And the Queen was kind of that constant that everyone looked to. And it represented the country in a positive light. I agree exactly what with Shaz said was my fondest memories growing up was actually going to London and going to view Buckingham Palace. I still think it's a massive thing, Phil, what you said, where you can still go watch, look at Buckingham Palace, but it doesn't mean there's got to be a king or queen that we're, as a country, funding. I take that on, point on board as well. But if someone says, I detest the monarchy and I don't, fine, that's your view. Everyone has a different view. Everyone thinks differently. Going back, did I watch the coronation? No. If I say that, some people will be offended by that. Why should you be offended with my choice not to watch it? I don't get it. And that's the bit where I feel like this country sometimes, and America does it really, where it's, you've got to be a patriot. You've got to fly the flag. Everything's about the army. Everything's about the flag, the United States flag. This country kind of is heading that way with some of these arguments where it's like, you've got to fly the flag. I'm a proud Brit. That's all I care about. King Charles does not represent me personally. The Rishi does not represent me personally. I just feel like we should be entitled to our views. We should be entitled to do what we want and not have people saying you should be watching the coronation. You have to be sat there on a TV watching this ceremony. It's not for everyone. That's all that's my view on it.
Yeah, I'll take that. I take that because I think I'm in probably a similar position to you there, and I think there's a big difference in being proud of the country than being proud of the royal family, or thinking that you have to be. And it's not that it's not that I feel either way about it, really. I think there's no feeling particularly about the royal family. I just think that the money spent for certain events could be better spent. I don't think I'm put out either way. If there was a royal family or not, I don't think.
The thing is, like, for example, political, and we had the local elections last week as well, and obviously that went on. But if you're voting, whether you're voting Tory or Labour, there's that massive divide there. But with now it's become like that with, whether you like the king or whether you like the monarchy or not, it's almost like one side is, we don't like it, we don't, we won't have nothing to do with it. And the other side is, no, you should be loving the monarchy. And for me, it's that for king and country, or for queen and country, for king and country. The two are different. I love my country does not mean I have to love a king. And
it doesn't mean that at all. I mean, the meaning has changed over the years, and it probably change more so in years to come as well. But I think the king or the queen come part and parcel of the UK, and that's what we are. Now, it doesn't mean to say, as you guys said, we must love them, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I did have a problem with, right, and it's a personal opinion, and you guys may agree or disagree with it. I did have an issue with the booing that went on when the national anthem was being played. I think that's disrespectful. The national anthem of a country is to be respected because it symbolizes an identity of that country. Now, whenever the national anthem is sung at the World Cup or the cricket and what have you, I get goosebumps, right? And that's just me. And there must be lots of other people as well. But to boo it in a sporting environment, I think it's disrespectful.
So on that point, I'm like that at World Cup games when England are playing, or Euros, when England are playing and the national anthem is played, I get goosebumps.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel proud to be from England.
Correct.
Some of our viewers who are not, South Asian heritage might be quite surprised at that. But For us, when that national anthem plays, when England are playing, it's like, wow. And we, you know, sometimes you sing along to bits as well yourself.
Well, I do that. I do that with the cricket when Pakistan are playing as well. When they play the Pakistan national anthem, I get goosebumps there as well, and I sing along to that as well.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate enough that we're enriched enough, myself and you, Yas, and other South Asian British people like us, where we should be proud to be enriched by both the cultures and to be enriched by, you know, the both the national anthems and be affected by them as well.
Yeah. So just on the Liverpool point, and I actually do agree with you there. And me and Phil watch quite a lot of this sport called NFL, which Shaz thinks is what? You know,
I think he said it's padded
rugby with shoulder pads.
Rugby with shoulder pads, right?
Rugby with shoulder pads, yeah.
But in NFL games in American, to go back to my point about Patriots, they play the national anthem before every single game, right? And it's, you know, they have that patriotism where it's. But what happened in the NFL was Colin Kaepernick, a player for San Francisco 49ers, and, you know, it was the whole where he started kneeling and protesting against the anthem in his own way. He wasn't booing it, but he was protesting it because of the institutional racism that was being meted out by them. Now, that was his way of expressing that he did. With the Liverpool fans, the only thing I would say is obviously there is history there in the sense of what's happened in the past with those fans. Is booing the right thing to do? I'd agree with you. It's not. But what a lot of people would say is what Colin Kaepernick did and people did after him in terms of taking a knee was the wrong thing to do as well. That was his way of protesting. Everyone is entitled to their way of protesting. But I agree with you where I think personally booing is disrespectful because other people have, you know, will take offense to that.
Taking the knee is not offensive. Taking the knee is not offensive. Okay.
A lot of people got offended by it.
They might have done. They might have done. But I mean, it's just like he could have like raised his hand or scratched his head or something like that, right? It's not offensive. Booing at something that's a national treasure. I'm sorry, I find that offensive.
But people booed when players took the knee. Remember, spectators at football stadiums up and down the country booed.
Yeah, and I accept the fact that, you know, they should be allowed to do that, and taking the knee was not disrespectful, but booing them taking the knee is also disrespectful to them. You know, and just before we finish, you guys probably are not old enough to remember this, but when you used to go to the cinema, right, before every film used to start, they used to play the national anthem.
Did they?
See, no, because Shaz will remember when the BBC used to finish at like 11 o'clock or whatever time. When the news finished, they used to play the national anthem after that as well, didn't they?
Well, they did. And I remember about midnight, all the programme used to stop.
Yeah.
So whether you wanted to stay up late and watch TV or not, you couldn't. Because there were no 24-hour TV going on. It's
Phil, quickly, mate, just on your, you know, just on this booing, because I just want to hear your view on that.
Yeah, it is a disrespectful thing to do. And I don't want to say but as if I'm siding with it, but I think like you just touched on then, I think Liverpool as a city has had an awful lot of disrespect, and I don't think they'll ever forget that. And I'm not just talking about, you know, justice for the 97 and Hillsborough and all that jazz. As a northern city, I think they've taken a lot of heat over the years that they probably didn't deserve. And that they are just pushing back a little bit and fighting back and trying to get their own identity a little bit, really. That doesn't make it right. I don't think booing the national anthem is helping them either. I don't think it helps the aesthetics of the city. And yeah, I don't know the answer. I don't think anybody does, to be fair. That's why they do what they do. But I disagree with Shaz. I think taking the knee was as offensive, especially in America when everyone stands for the anthem, hand on heart job. I think being the person to take the knee is equally, it is like standing up and booing. I think that's how it was perceived. And again, for me personally, I get what he was doing and I get what he was trying to do and raise awareness to. Was he doing it in the right manner? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. And again, I could probably throw an argument in for both on that. But that was Colin Kaepernick, and it's not helped his career, has it? Let's be honest, because he was a good NFL player, and he's now been ostracised and he's never played again. He's never played another snap since, has he? So,
yeah. Just on finishing on the monarchy, then, just personal viewpoint is not really bothered that much personally. Love, everything about this country in a lot of ways. Love the palaces, love the castles, love all of that. Do we need one right now? I'm going to sit on the fence as well and just say, if Diana was my queen, I would love it.
I didn't realise you had a thing for Princess Diana. I'm keeping that in my keep that
exactly.
In
my yes.
I won't say what, but
remember that.
Yeah, definitely Diana.
Shaz, are you on the fence? Or are you in the yes camp?
I'm very, very slightly in the yes camp.
Yeah, I think I'm probably sat with
his age. It's his age, I think, Phil.
Well, it probably is. It probably is. Because, like I said, my parents, every time there was a royal activity on, they used to have the TV on. They used to watch it. So it may be an age thing. Maybe an age thing. Maybe you young kids are moving away from the royal family. But I'm just about on the royal family side.
Young kid, I'll say that.
I'll take that as well, actually, especially since I'm your brother. That's what
we got that lot. Yeah, we got that lot on Sunday, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Again, gents, massive thanks. I won't say it, but there we go. We'll raise that. Again, everybody who's listened, massive thanks for listening. Massive thanks for your feedback. Please do keep it coming. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, share it with your friends. It's a conversation we're willing to have. Any questions you have, please leave them in the chats below for us, and we will endeavour to answer them. But again, massive thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. See you again.
See you later. Bye.